Okay, hi there Facebook, hopefully I'm coming out live. I always like to wait a second or two just to make sure that people are able to join me. I'm just going to fiddle with this for a second. There we go, I think that's okay. Hopefully I'm coming out live. Let me just make sure before I start whittering on or discussing reactivity in a bit more depth. So let's have a look. Come on, computer. It's been super windy here. I don't know what it's been like where you are. Oh, here we go. All right, I think I'm coming out live. So people are joining me. Excellent. So it's been super windy here all day, so I'm just mindful of the internet connection. Hopefully it's fine. I'll let people join me and hopefully we'll get started. So firstly, just want to quickly say again, thank you so much for all those people that have contacted me, messaged me, private messaged me, sent me Instagram messages about the course and shared with me really personal information. Again, I've just read through somebody's message about their dog and their experience, and a real commonality between the stories and the things that people are telling me. So I'm really privileged and humbled that people feel that they can share that information with me. And hopefully, as I say, this course has been designed in a way that's going to help people. So I'm going to talk about the course, but I'm also going to talk about how passing wind relates to reactivity. And again, it's a little bit of a leading line there, but to just get you thinking differently about reactivity. So I'm going to wait for people to join me, and then I will start discussing a little bit about the course, okay? Quick slurp of coffee. So let's have a look. So let's have a look. Excellent, people joining. Excellent. All right, good. Let's make a start then. So, as I said, thank you very much for those who have joined and shown interest and signed up for Relabeling Reactivity. This project, as I said, it originally has been a long time in the making, trying to create a course that was very much a holistic approach of dealing with reactive behaviour, or behaviour that is deemed reactive. And I want to qualify that. So I solemnly believe that a lot of dogs' behaviour, that we attach a label, this huge label that's called reactivity, or the label of reactivity, and it can cover from everything from the fearful dog to the dog that is motion sensitive and wants to chase things, to the dog that is over exuberant, and the spectrum of behaviours and a bit that vary in between. And I want people to think differently about reactivity. So even if you don't intend to join the course or join the groups, I hope that this series that I've been running over the last couple of weeks, where you've got the opportunity to meet the people that have contributed to Relabeling Reactivity, has been helpful to you, and the feedback that I've got and the comments that I've received and the emails have most definitely achieved that. It's definitely got people thinking about their own dogs, realising that they're not the only person in that position to have a dog with some challenges. We all have challenges with our dogs, which brings me nicely on to what does reactivity and passing wind have in common. So the thing, I wrote a couple of notes and I was just thinking about, what is it about reactivity that people get so concerned about? And it dawned on me there's so many similarities between passing wind and, reactivity, so farting and reactivity. The first one is it's not always appropriate. So dogs' behaviours that reactive behaviour isn't always appropriate. All right, that's the first thing. So I'm sure there's certain situations where somebody's passed wind in your company and it hasn't been the most appropriate settings. That can be applied, that principle, that thinking can be applied to reactivity. That's the first thing. Second thing is it often stinks. Yeah, so that's a really obvious one. Some of the stuff that our dogs do, it kind of stinks. It's a little bit annoying, and it doesn't always, it's not always the best thing for them to do. But dogs are dogs, and that's what they do. And same a bit like, somebody's getting cleaned and they don't really like it. And it's similar to passing wind. Sometimes it stinks a little bit. That's the second thing. Third thing is, we'd really prefer if it wasn't done in the general public, yeah? So when you're out and about, we would prefer that you didn't pass wind in public, and we'd like our dogs not to have a reactive outburst in public. Fourth thing is, it doesn't last forever, people. it's going to dissipate in some way. It doesn't last forever, and that's really, really critical to remind yourself. And the fifth thing, which is really, really the major thing, is it's perfectly normal. Your dog's behaviour, which can be deemed as reactive or looked on by others as reactive, is perfectly normal. And I jest about the parallels between reactive behaviour and passing wind, but the reason I do that is to try and get people to have a different mindset to behaviour that is deemed reactive. There is so many instances where the expectations we have of our dogs is unrealistic to what a dog is. Okay, and that's the first thing that will hopefully, within those that have joined Relabeling Reactivity, will get them to think differently about their dogs not being problems, but maybe we could give them more support, maybe we could give them more information, maybe we could prepare them a little bit better. But that's down to things that we can do, and we can affect their behaviour. So certainly thinking about our perceptions of what dogs are and what we would like them to do around the bigger world. So a great example this afternoon. So I think a couple of weeks back I shared on Instagram a little video of me training Reset. Reset is my year-old border collie that I bred. He actually went to somebody and he came back to me when he was 5 months old, and I just love him, and I ended up keeping him, and he fits in brilliantly with my dogs. Fantastic dog, super temperament, brilliant to train, can't sing his praises enough. However, this afternoon, and as I said, I shared a video of him recently doing some training where somebody's dog came up to him, and whilst we were in the middle of doing our training, interacting, the dog approached us, and you saw how I dealt with it, okay? So that's a classic scenario where we have a disconnect about what our dog should do and what society do. So now Reset, I have to say, it behaved in that instance absolutely impeccably. An English pointer wandered over to him, was really intrusive, stuck her head up his backside, invaded his personal space, and he just largely ignored it, which is the textbook response that I would want my dogs to do. So that's a very dog-like response, yeah, where he's fixating on me and looking at me and waiting for me to train him is not normal behaviour. He's actually behaving very abnormally. Today he behaved more normally. So it just so happened that, again, and this is, I'm sure everybody out there who's watching can relate to this, you go to the park, you walk your dogs and you try to keep in your own little space, and, you know, other people let their dogs off and they come gallivanting over with the statements of, you know, that will make our blood curdle of, he only wants to say hello, he's only friendly, he's only a puppy, and when you say, oh, well, my dog might not like it, oh, he needs a good telling off, and the endless list of things that could be responded. On a side note, if you haven't as yet, go to my Facebook and watch the video by a friend of mine from Ireland, Siobhan Owens, absolutely hysterical. If you haven't had a chance, hopefully some people, if you have seen that video, just comment, let me know, or give me a thumbs up to let me know you've seen the video. Absolutely hysterical, where she does a little skit where she's talking about her experience of training a dog and a member of the public, or members of the public, and their various responses. Absolutely hysterical. Go to my Facebook. I think it's now been shared probably across the world. She's probably gone viral with it, but absolutely brilliant. But it's something that we can all relate to, in that we've had a dog invade our dog's personal space. Again, coming back to Reset, that happened this morning. I was doing a bit of training with him, finished training, went to, and this dog came and wandered over, and I broke him off, and he had permission to say hello to the dog, which he did. I had hold of his collar, I was giving him some treats. The dog went off, I engaged him a little bit more, I wanted to do a bit more training. Saw the dog double back, so it left its owner, she's calling it, the dog ignored her, made a beeline for him, totally, you know, the dog was friendly, didn't have any issues, it was probably just a bit intrusive. Came up to him again, I broke him off, I let him say hello, etc. And I could see him just getting a little bit like, why is this dog keeping invading our space? So I just broke him off and played with him. Third time, he did it a third time, sorry, and his demeanour and body language changed, and he definitely got a little bit, not concerned, but definitely aware of the other dog's presence, and he stiffened up slightly, and he just gave it, he curled his lip at the dog. And I just didn't do anything, I just had hold of his collar, distracted him away, threw some food on the floor, distracted him, fed him, the woman came and called her dog. Now that would be something I would be mindful of. He wasn't being asked to focus. He wasn't engaged in work. I just had hold of his collar. I had broken him off from what I was doing at that moment in time. He behaved like a normal dog. He was saying to that dog, who've now invaded my personal space several times, and I'm really not appreciative of you keep on persisting in doing that. And the dog read it instantly and went off and minded its own business, and his owner said, oh, she might learn now, as the standard response. Now, in that scenario, I could have handled it very differently. I could have berated the owner for not having control of her dog. I could have told Reset off for showing his teeth. I could have done a multitude of things, but I just chose to give him a tidbit, throw it on the floor, make light of it, carry on with what I was doing. The reason I would take that approach is nothing is going to be gained from me first off berating the person and getting into a dialogue about them. They clearly don't have, their dog doesn't do a recall. That's fine. I'm not going to get into a discussion about the pros and cons of teaching a recall to that individual at that moment. My primary concern is my dog. I observed his body language, and I could tell that he was getting a little bit, for want of a better term, irritated by the dog keeping coming up to us and interrupting what we were doing. So I could have, in hindsight, put him back in the car on the van if I wanted to. I hadn't finished what I was particularly wanted to work on with him, so I didn't think any harm would come of him being out. The thing to say is that something that will happen to your dogs is not to get into that dialogue and allow it to affect you detrimentally, and most importantly, affect the dog's confidence. Now, I know Reset will be absolutely fine. He's got a super temperament. He's, very, very confident. He's super friendly. I would be mindful now, if that dog came again to the same location, I might think, do you know what, I'm going to take him over to a different part of the park, or I might put him back in the van for just a couple of seconds and get him back out later on, or I might play with him and distract him that way. There's a multitude of things I would do, but I'm certainly not going to get into a dialogue about the pros and cons of her dog's behaviour, etc., not in that situation, because all it would do is affect my dog. And it's really reframing in our mind that Reset wasn't wrong to do what he did. The other dog, was she right, was she wrong? It doesn't really matter. The dog wasn't being aggressive. It was, slightly annoying, but I'm not going to change the world in terms of being able to change everybody's mindset in that moment. So a definite thing to consider when you're in that situation is how to handle it, what your response is, okay? I jest about it being, reactive behaviour being similar to passing wind, because it is a lot of the stuff that your dog does. It might not be appropriate, but it's perfectly normal behaviour. Reset's behaviour was normal. Him saying to the dog, I don't really like you keeping sticking your nose up my back end. It's normal for him to say, could you please stop that? Yeah, he would do that to my dogs if they were, he would understand that would be appropriate dog language to say, I don't really like you doing that. I'm just going to curl my teeth. I'm going to show you my teeth, in which case my dogs, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to, no problem. And then they would be back to normal. So it wouldn't then escalate to being a huge issue. The dog read it brilliantly, went off, no problems, okay? So the thing to say is being mindful of not overreacting in that situation. If you've had a dog with a previous experience, developing that skill is something that's covered in the course about your mindset, being aware of your how it's making you feel, if you're getting anxious, etc., etc. I solemnly believe that with reactivity, we should be taking a holistic approach to our dog's behaviour, in the sense of looking at the dog's training. So thinking about, can we give our dogs skills to give us more confidence of dealing with them? So skills that would be worked on in the course are very simple. They're things that aren't complicated. They're not. You don't have to be a full-time professional dog trainer to be able to do these skills, which are very simple. So simple things like sit, down, a really great recall, and training them so well that gives you confidence in its just in its own, by being able to let your dog off and know reliably you can get that dog back. And getting the dog to understand that if you say sit or down, etc., the dog's going to hold that position and remain focused on you, irrespective of the distractions that's going on. So again, talking about dogs and just having that little bit of control, I've had numerous dogs over the years that could quite easily or at some point have exhibited behaviour that's deemed reactive, and applying that principle of having really good control, working on the recall of them, teaching solid behaviours has allowed me to deal with 99.9% of situations with little or hopefully long-lasting fallout. So it allows me to get through those sticky moments to eventually get to a place of where I can either counter condition or desensitize or whatever the case may be. It's allowed me to avoid situations escalating and becoming problematic. So the course is about taking a holistic approach to reactivity and looking at it at what it is. Your dog that has an outburst is not Cujo. It doesn't mean that that dog's going to be long-term going to be a danger. That it doesn't mean that the dog isn't going to, doesn't need to be put to sleep or sedated or anything like that. It just means that this is a moment that we need to deal with, not to ignore it, to do some dog training around it, give ourselves more confidence, give the dog more skills, and then be able to move forward. So a certain aspect of the course is about that entity, looking at the dog training bit, which is where I am going to be giving you loads and loads of information. And again, it's not things that are abstract or anything that's complicated. You don't need extensive pieces of equipment to teach it. It's very simple stuff. Then another aspect is a lot of dogs that are reactive or have reactive behavior, often they need an outlet for their energy, both mentally and physically. And that's a huge part of creating them being content, as opposed to aspiring to teach them to be calm. Calmness is a very difficult thing to teach a dog to do. Contentment and getting them to be satisfied both physically and mentally, and teaching them some basic elements of control is far easier to achieve. Okay, so part of the course, there's a whole section about nose work, which you met Lou Holmes. And again, if you haven't had a chance to look at the Relabeling Reactivity Symposium, go back. It's on YouTube, chopped up into bite-sized clips so that you can have a look, because it was quite a long, extensive live last Thursday. Yeah, last Thursday. It was about over 2 hours. So it's all been condensed down to bite-sized chunks so you can have a look at it. Lou Holmes, the expert in nose work, has contributed courses on tracking, man training, scent work for you guys to get your head around if you're thinking about joining. So that's part of the solution to the problem when you have a dog whose behaviour is deemed as reactive. First is changing your mindset about it, realising that your dog is not Satan, your dog is not the devil dog, your dog is not the worst dog in the world, your dog isn't the dog that should be ostracised or banished. We might need to give your dog some skills, we might need to give your dog some confidence, we might need to give you some confidence, but that's all achievable. Secondly, once we've done some really great dog training and we've given ourselves confidence in our dog's ability to understand simple behaviours like sit, down and a recall, and other bonus skills and additional skills on top of that, we want to provide the dog with an outlet so that they don't regress because they're bored, or because they don't have stimulation, or because they don't have a healthy outlet for their energy. Obviously, I've been involved in dog sports for 30 years, 25 to 30 years, probably, 30 years now. And it's been, I've done loads of different dog sports, and there's dog sports that I would say that probably aren't necessarily productive for reactive dogs because of either the environment or what the sport is. It's a quite high energy, adrenaline based sport. Something like nose work and tracking is a great outlet for most dogs. It's low impact on them. It's great for physical stimulation. It's great for mental stimulation, as is all nose work. And it also, there's a plethora of competitions that if you do get the bug and you want to get into, that you can follow up, which I will definitely be telling you a little bit more about in the Relabeling Reactivity Collective from experts in those fields, to give you some insight into the various competitions that you can partake in. So those are the bits to do with the dog. Now, a huge part of the puzzle, of helping dogs overcome reactivity is supporting and giving the handler, owner, guardian, whatever you would like to call yourself, a support system and skills of which they can draw on. So confidence, aware of their own self-awareness. Are they getting anxious? Can you feel your breathing quickening up when you see another dog approaching you? Do you have that awareness to be able to, bring my breathing down, start to just regulate myself, and so forth and so forth? Are you aware of whether you have anxiety issues and whether that's something that that you can work on within the context of the course? So when I've worked with dogs with reactivity, that's something that's most definitely prevalent in that either the dog affects the person's confidence or the person's confidence affects the dog's behaviour. Either way, it can be in both directions. And it's what I wanted to do with this course was to make sure that I had that entity covered, because whilst I could do the dog training, whilst we could provide an outlet for the dog, if we aren't supporting the people within the course and giving them skills, all the hard work that they're going to be put in is going to be to no avail. So I called on my friend, as I said, Kat Farrance from Movement for Modern Life, a online yoga business, to give an input on yoga and how that can benefit people. Also, Christina Ashley, who again you met last week, to give her perspective as a therapist and somebody that works with people with PTSD and anxiety-based mental health concerns. Now more than ever, I think the conversation about looking after oneself, both physically and mentally, is really, really, really prevalent. And it's something that is brilliant that people are being more open about and understanding and more compassionate about. Obviously, it's been in the news even this week about mental health and it being something that's not taboo, and that people aren't labelled as crazy or weird or odd because of what is the human experience of having, anxiety or a bit of concern or whatever the case may be. Settle, good girl. Whatever the case may be, it's become much more of an open conversation, and one that I feel is very, very relevant for dogs and their behaviour. All right, so that's an overview of the course. In terms of how we deal with situations where you are over the park, you are with your dog, and somebody's dog approaches yours, or in an unruly manner, it doesn't really matter. Even if the dog is innocent, sometimes it can be unnerving. How do we deal with that? First and foremost is making sure that you don't get irate in that moment, okay? Whilst I can appreciate that it can sometimes be disconcerting when your dog is having an outburst and they can't get their dog, you adding fuel to that fire is not going to help the situation. It's not going to help your dog, and it's not going to help you. What could potentially happen is the next time you see somebody approach that you could be revisiting that, and you could be re-victimizing yourself mentally by, visualizing that experience all over again. So first and foremost is try not to allow yourself to go to that place where you're getting upset or irate, or certainly in a confrontation about the situation. Focus yourself on your dog. Get control of your dog. Hold the dog's collar. Stick some food in the dog's face if you can. If you're close enough, walk the dog back to your vehicle. Put it behind a physical barrier. It doesn't matter. Just keep the dog safe. Remedy the situation as best you can, and then reconcile and move forward from it. Whether it means arranging a meet with a similar dog, or going out for do some parallel walking with a friend, etc., etc., so that you can ensure that you don't have a knock of your confidence. In that situation, things that you can do is obviously that the classic thing is telling people your dog doesn't like other dogs in its space. That normally I would say confidently gets no response from the person. What I advise people to say is, oh, my dog's just had an eye infection, it's super contagious. That generally makes people respond a lot quicker, because then they're concerned about getting their dog off. Another option is to say, oh, the dog is, you can tell them the dog is concerned about other dogs. They may respond with, my dog's super friendly, etc., etc. Whatever the case may, it doesn't really matter. You're far better of saying to them, oh, could you just get your dog and then we can go for a little parallel walk or something. Utilise them. Yeah, reach out for them in that moment. I know that sometimes that's easier said than done, but you could, rather than trying to put up a barrier, which then instantly creates that friction, or another tactic I've often done in the past is I just get some treats, and then the dog runs, there's treats on the floor, which gets their dog to eat treats, and I take my dog off the other way, or the dog that I'm working with, and take it off. Sometimes they go, oh, he doesn't like food, or he's got an allergy, and that's down. They normally get themselves quicker to the food, and they grab the dog's collar, in which case the situation is much more under control. But a massive thing is not to escalate your energy in, so that you go with it. On the course, I have shown there is a series of case studies of me working with dogs that have reactivity issues, and I've done where I've put subtitles explaining what I'm doing, and also voiceovers explaining what I'm doing, both within the session and then post that. As a sideline, my very good friend Denise Frenzy, some of you may know I also teach for the Frenzy Dog Sport Academy. She's shared loads and loads of videos of her young dog dice training and looking at practical examples of her out training her dog, and the dog has a issue with traffic or birds or other dogs, etc., and showing how she deals with it. The essence of this course applies that same logic of transparency and real world dog training. So it isn't me necessarily in always controlled environments, and even in those controlled environments, sometimes things go wrong. A dog rushes up and you can see how I deal with it. It's me taking the dogs out in public spaces where there's other dogs, other people, and showing how I deal with those situations. Therefore, those things that you can draw on, yeah, and you can build up your confidence and apply some of the logic. Often when we're thinking about reactivity, we try and create a situation which is often unrealistic for most people to emulate. So a controlled environment, one dog, calm dog, trained dog, etc. That's great if you have access to that. Most people with reactive dogs don't have access to that turnover of dogs that are controlled with dog savvy people, as I've discussed before. So a lot of the training and relabeling reactivity is showing real world examples of me training the dog at a local park where I normally train, or me training the dog in oh gosh, I've got it in my head, a shopping precinct area where there's loads of people milling around. Taking the dog to a public environment where other dogs might come, or walking the dog with other dogs that aren't my own. So just real situations, trying to show you a level of transparency of working with dogs and not in stage controlled environments where everything is in my favour and I can control every variable. That isn't realistic. That isn't going to help you guys. So those of you who've asked about relabeling reactivity and whether it's the course for you, I've openly said to people, some instances, this is not the course for you. The reason being is that if you're feeling that you've got control of your dog and you feel that you can manage your dog, and you feel that you're living in a space where the dog is happy, content and satisfied, then probably not, this is not the course for you. If the dog was previously reactive and you feel you're at a place where the dog is happy, comfortable, etc., then all power to you. I commend you for your hard work. There is not necessarily the necessity of being involved in this course. Whilst it'll be great for you to learn from, if you feel that you've largely improved your dog's behaviour, I don't want you to sign up and then feel that this course is not going to be a worthwhile investment. A lot of people have asked about older dogs. Is it possible to retrain an older dog? Being truthful, it would depend how old the dog is, and it would depend on how long the dog has been rehearsing the behaviour. I can absolutely confidently say I can help you improve the dog's behaviour, but if the dog is, for example, 10 years old and for the last 9.5 years the dog's been rehearsing a certain behaviour or etc., whilst I can improve it and I can help you make headway to get your head around things, and maybe for subsequent dogs, it's probably largely ingrained in that dog for that period of time. And the ends isn't going to justify the means in terms of when you're talking about behaviour resolution, may take you the same amount of time to fix the behaviour as one that's been ingrained. Now, that's not to say I can't make improvements, that I would definitely say we can make improvements, but are you going to get that 10-year-old dog who's been rehearsing an inappropriate response for 9.5 years, and are we going to get it absolutely perfect in every scenario and absolutely brilliant with all dogs? And probably not. What we're going to do is a combination of training, management and confidence building, and interplaying all three of those things to help the dog resolve its issues. So just want that level of transparency. As I've said numerous times with various lives on this course, the course is about simplicity. It's about teaching simple behaviours that anybody can teach, providing a healthy outlet for the dog, supporting the owner, guardian, handler, etc., and giving them skills and techniques that they can bring into the table, improve their confidence around the dog, and also giving the dog confidence and ways of which to deal with things like frustration and building the dog's confidence. One of the things that I speak about a lot on conferences across the world and seminars is about frustration tolerance and resilience to stress. I strongly believe and certainly this last year has really articulated the necessity of building up our ability to cope with situations that cause us to be frustrated and cause an element of stress. And having that resilience and coping mechanisms is really, really, really important for us as individuals and our dogs. It's something that I would say that not everybody believes the same way as me, and that's absolutely fine. That they steer towards minimal, no frustration and never posing stress. For me, that's unrealistic of our dogs because of the life that they lead, living in this this very undog-like world, you know, where they have to ignore things that move fast and squeaky noises and not retaliate to the dog and not chase the squirrel and so forth and so forth. So it's really it's a huge part of the course is giving your dog skills to cope with frustration and stress, but done in a strategic and healthy manner, so that when you are in a situation where your dog may get frustrated and may get stressed, the dog has the coping mechanism for dealing with those situations, and you understand what it looks like, so you can recognize it and deal with it appropriately. I do that via the medium of shaping behavior, and I teach a dog a very distinct behavior, and then I gradually challenge them and make it a little bit more frustrating for the dog and teach the dog to process information whilst it's a little bit frustrated. For me, that's a massive part of creating dogs that are confident, outgoing, well-adjusted, and can cope with everything that goes on in their day-to-day world. All right? So, has anybody got any questions about the course? Anything that you want to know about the course, the content, or anything I've said about reactivity thus far? Okay, let's just check. I'll just give it a moment. Oh. So if I would definitely like, Denise is a really good friend of mine. She's brilliant. She's sharing very candidly some stuff with her dog Dice. I think she did a live, was it yesterday or the day? I'll probably share it on my Facebook page, talking about Dice and breeding and high drive dogs specifically. And she really is candid about her experiences with him and what he is as a dog. And she shares video of things going well, and she talks about when things go badly. She talks very openly about him redirecting in a training session and how she chooses to deal with it. That's something that, again, she's very candid about, not showing, you know, she could have easily edited it to show the dog being perfect. But she very much had transparency, and that's something that I think is really, really helpful for people. So again, in a lot of the video content on relabeling reactivity, I show you the dog behaving well, I show you things going wrong, I show you how I remedy it, I show you how I deal with it. So that you don't just have this staged, manufactured me with a trained dog. For example, if I took Great and did a scenario where Great's got a fantastic temperament, she's not going to react to another dog, I know that of her. So it would be very unlikely if she would respond negatively. So it would be counterproductive to show you an instance with her. I would show you that with a dog that, again on the course, that is likely to respond inappropriately, and how I deal with it and how I change my behaviour to hopefully get a success, moving further away, changing the setup, you know, etc., etc. All right. Claire asked, does the course help with creating joyful training sessions while building confidence? Absolutely. I'm a trainer that believes in using reinforcement to train dogs. I believe it's the most effective way to teach them quickly, efficiently, and resonates with the dog. So it absolutely is about training training so that it's joyful and it creates confidence. But more importantly, a massive thing, whilst it's great to use the medium of play and games, etc., to train my dogs, that's great. The huge entity is about dealing with the owner's confidence, and that's something that I'd say is very unique about this course, in that I recognise and that my team recognise that is a huge entity of getting results or not. Yeah. So, you know, when I've had countless instances where people have come to me with reactive dogs that have been rehearsing behaviour for years and years and years and years, and brilliant skills, amazing training, beautifully trained dog, etc., etc. But the vital entity that isn't accounted for is working on the person's confidence. and supporting them and giving them skills of dealing with situations where they get anxious. So one of my role adjacent to dealing with reactive dogs is as a dog sports coach with high level competitors, so people that compete at world championship level competitions. And as part of my role as a sports coach is to prepare them for those situations where they're going to be under an immense amount of pressure, and where situations where they will get anxious and they'll get concerned. You heard Kat talk about it, where she's, again, one of my students that competes at the top level in the competitive obedience. As a raw beginner handler that had never competed at that level before, a lot of her yoga technique was helpful to her, but also getting in her mindset and building her confidence up, making sure she was so well prepared for any situation that she would encounter. That helped her confidence and gave her confidence to know that she could undertake any situation that was presented. So that's the same parallel that I use for people with reactive dogs, preparing them and their dog so well that any situation that they encounter, they have the skills to navigate and deal with. Simple techniques that they can use. Again, I want to reiterate that it's not about being a world-class dog trainer to be able to move through the lessons in the course. It's simple stuff, that basic behaviours that we train really, really, really well, and supporting the dog and supporting you in order to give you confidence. So hopefully that's given you some insight, Claire. Would the course be suitable? So Becky asked, would the course be suitable for reactive rescue lurcher that has a tendency to shut down and not want to take treats? Yes, it would, but the bit that I'd want to work on is, why is the dog shutting down? Is it because of other dogs? Is it because of their understanding? Is there a way we can build resilience in the dog to not shut down? So I've had numerous dogs that were predisposed to shutting down, and again, I use the medium of shaping to create resilience within them. So I would do that first to create resilience and create tenacity and create confidence. You'll find that a lot of dogs that are prone to shutting down, it's either because they've been lured a lot of the behaviour, and I would urge you to shape them so the dog learns to be more giving of behaviour. And certain breeds and certain types of dogs are very predisposed to shutting down. They get frustrated very easily. Again, shaping is a great way to build their confidence. And also looking at other forms of reinforcement other than food. We can use toys, we can use activities, we can use games, we can use going off for a sprint, and so forth and so forth. There's loads of things that you can use to give your dog, that will equate as reinforcement to your dog. Pauline asked, what's the difference between the two courses? So great question. So relabeling reactivity, the standard access, is where you have access to the course, which, as I explained, is over 100 videos looking at all aspects of reactivity holistically. The dog training, the outlet for the dog, the handler confidence. In addition to that, I'm also going to be giving there's more videos to come. So again, I was very aware of not overwhelming people with several hundred videos relating to reactivity. So the content is staggered in its release, and there's more to come. So I'm going to be putting more content on there throughout the year. That's the standard access, okay? So if you want to subscribe to the VIP access, where you can be part of the Relabeling Reactivity Collective, which is a Facebook group where you will receive not only additional content in terms of videos, webinars, lives with myself and the other contributors. So just to give you a little bit of insight into what we've got coming. So I'm doing a live with the group next Monday talking about an aspect of reactivity. Lou Holmes, the nosework expert, is going to be doing a live talking about her struggle specifically with her dog Chip and giving you a bit more insight into that. I've also got planned a nutritionist to talk about how nutrition can relate to behavioural problems. Also a physio to talk about the physical aspect of reactivity and how that can play. Also a vet that I've got to do a talk with. Also planned in that is there's an input about physical exercise for improving your confidence and mindset and mental health. There's an input on that. Also, have we got planned in that course? There is also all the people that are in the collective and sign up for the courses will also get discount codes for Made by Jinx, which is the manufacturers of the snuffle mats and leads. So both groups will get that. And also a discount code for Movement to Modern Life. That will also be another perk of getting involved in the course. So loads of stuff there that's hopefully gives you value for money for the course. I absolutely understand that, you know, when you look at the cost, some people have got to be thinking about that. You know, I've had people messaging me from abroad about the exchange rate. I absolutely empathise with that. It's been structured in a way that hopefully is financially accessible, and you're going to get a really good quality of service. The thing to say is that I'm going to be putting more and more content on there, so the course will get bigger. And those on the collective, you can also ask questions about various topics. You can ask even, can you do an input about, for example, teaching my dog to go to a crate, or although that's covered, the bed games is covered. I'm trying to think of what isn't covered on the course. So if there's something that you want specific information about, I'll give you an example. Multi-dog households. You might even want some input about multi-dog households and friction between two dogs. That isn't extensively covered in the course, but you might want to have some input on that. You can put a message on the Relabeling Reactivity Collective, and you can ask that question, and I can do a live or webinar on it. So it gives, it's the idea of it, and I use this same format for my other groups, my sports groups. It works really, really effective because it gives you guys that are in the collective a lot of control about what information you get. So hopefully that's explained it a little bit more. So I have Lucy. I have limited mobility right now due to back issues. Would this hinder training? I can't always get out for my usual longer walks. So, depending on the severity of your back issue, I would first and foremost say, Lucy, put that as a priority. Don't jump on board. You know, dog training. Manage your dog. Don't jeopardize your health for the sake of, you know, partaking in a course. At the moment, the course is going to be open till Sunday for sign-ups. And then we're going to close it and get everybody sorted, because there's always, when you release courses, there's always that bedding in period, making sure that everybody who is signed up is settled into the respective groups, starting to put input on that, so it can be quite extensive. And I always like to open it for a period of time, close it, get everybody sorted, get ourselves underway, and then at some point later on in the year it may be opened again, depending on how the year goes. So don't feel that you have to join now, Lucy, if you're not in a position physically. I do not want you to jeopardise your health for the sake of joining an online course. Get yourself right first and foremost, and then at some point reach out to me. I'll figure something out. All right, please don't jeopardise your health for the sake of dog training. But however, the information, if you're somebody that has limited physical mobility, absolutely you can implement a lot of the stuff within to your own dog training. It just takes a bit of adapting. In terms of an outlet, a physical outfit for your dog, that's another conversation. There's loads of things that you can do to give your dog an outlet when you are limited physically. But in regards to your question specifically, Lucy, I would say first and foremost, get yourself right, and then as and when you're ready, the course will be available. Just reach out to me and I'll figure something out. All right. I don't want you to jeopardise your health for the sake of dog training. Okay. Is the course useful for adolescent dogs which just need more confidence? Absolutely. So there is a whole webinar on adolescent dogs on the course already. Adolescence is a really notoriously challenging time when, in my experience, in my opinion, reactivity is normally established, created or learned. It is probably, if you looked at the rescues across the world, the highest percentage of dogs in rescue are adolescent dogs who develop behavioural issues, which are very normal for adolescents, and people panic and they go, I can't cope with the dog no more, I'm going to rehome it. So it absolutely will help you negate any issues or avoid any issues becoming a long-lasting problem. Excuse me. So it absolutely will help. If you feel that your dog is just like reset, a normal adolescent dog, I'm not overly concerned about his behaviour in terms of problems or behavioural problems, etc. If he was my own dog and I was looking to sign up for this course, I would say to myself, it's not relevant for that dog. If I had jungle, even I was an experienced dog owner, I'd absolutely say sign up for this course, because she's a dog that a lot of her behavioural stuff, a lot of her who she is, could very quickly escalate into reactivity. Her motion sensitivity, her chase drive, her over-enthusiastic response to people, her natural inclination to bite things, all of that could escalate into reactivity. So I'd say absolutely sign up with, if I was a jungle's owner. Or not if I was jungle's owner, I am jungle's owner. If I was a person with a dog like jungle. If I was a person with a dog like reset, I would say no. Not necessary, okay? Very much need the average trainer does not have these skills. Yeah, so the thing about dog training, the course in dog training is the course has been designed specifically so anybody with any experience can run through the lessons. They're all broken down. There's video tutorials. There's PDFs about each lesson, so that you can follow it in various ways, so that you're able to achieve, again, those simple behaviors: sit, down, recall. Those are your three, what I would call your core behaviors, and then everything else is built around those. If you have those three behaviors and they're trained so well, as I said earlier, you could probably get through 99% of situations, or 95% of situations, with no problems at all. Often those skills need to be improved, which will then have a domino effect to the rest of your dog's behavior. All right. Oh, thank you, Caroline. That's a very nice thing to say. I don't want people to come on board with this course if they're either not in a position to commit to it, if it isn't appropriate for their dog. You know, this is specifically aimed for people whose dogs that have behaviour that could be qualified or deemed as reactive. And those are the people that I don't want to just sell this to everybody because, you know, it's a money-making venture. That is not my agenda as either a dog trainer, a professional, and certainly as a businessman. That's not how I operate. I want people to come on board with this course because they feel it's going to really benefit them, and what this course has to offer is going to help them. And that's what I absolutely want to do. I want to help people, and there's no point, you know, if somebody attends this course or completes this course or purchases this course and they feel it's the wrong fit for their dog, wrong fit for them, and they can't commit because, you know, for example, they have a back issue and they can't, you know, undertake the work, it's going to be, you know, a waste of their time, energy, money, and that's not what I'm about. I would rather they waited and come on board when they're in a position to, you know, to undertake the process more efficiently. But more importantly, I don't want to say, for example, to let Lucy, oh yes, come on board, Lucy. Of course I can, because that's not the truth. Yeah, that would be me basically bullshitting you, and that's just not what I'm about. All right. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of information about the course. If you're still on the fence, message me. Just send me a message. Have a think about it. You've got till Sunday evening if you're a little bit undecided. I'm going to try and video a little bit of a look around the course later on and post that on Facebook so that you can get a little bit of insight into some of the stuff that's on the course, and some of the videos to give you a little bit of a look around the course. Again, if you want to sign up, it's going to be open till Sunday night, and then it's going to be closed, and then we're going to get everybody in the course up and running and make sure they're all sorted. And I'm not sure at the moment when I will reopen it, because I've got a couple of other projects that I'm working on, which are probably going to take my energies and focus. So, yeah, if you have any questions, if you're undecided about whether the course is going to suit you, about the financial commitment, about the commitment of time, about what the course, is it relevant for your dog, just send me a message and I will endeavour to give you an honest answer. I've told as many people, no, I don't think this course is for you, as I've told them, absolutely, I think this could help you, but have a think about it, go away for 24 hours and then come back and make sure you're really sure. All right? Dogs that have noise, will you be doing something in the future to address this? So Vicky, noise sensitivity. In truth, I haven't got anything planned for noise sensitivity specifically as an individual course. The reason being is that it's how far do you spread your time and resources, and I don't want to try and do everything, every single behavioural issue, and end up trying to shortchange other entities. So I tend to focus on the things that I feel I can be most impactful on. Certainly reactivity, I think that's such a huge issue globally, and I felt that could make a great impact. And a lot of the information out there I felt was just not not taking that holistic approach. So I felt there was something that I could definitely bring to the table that would definitely help people. In terms of noise sensitivity, there's some great information out there done by other people. I will probably do something on noise sensitivity within the collective, but only if people want that. So it'll be driven by the participants. At the moment, I have nothing independently of the course planned, in being truthful. All right? Anybody else got any questions before I wrap up? Let me just make sure. Okay, so I think that's it. I think that's all the questions. Thank you those who've joined me. I started this with a little bit of jest about the similarities between passing wind and reactivity, and hopefully that has lightened up the conversation. I know that reactivity can be very, very emotive for people, and I know that it can really be deep-rooted, some of the causes and some of the effects, and I absolutely empathise and sympathise with people. What I bring, hopefully you will gain from this course, is giving you the skills and the confidence to be able to move forward with your dogs, and also reframing that your dog isn't a demon. It isn't, a dog that should be shunned from society. It just needs to understand some core skills and give you confidence, and then you can lead your best life. All right? So hopefully that's given you a bit of insight. I'm going to love you guys and leave you guys. Have a really good next couple of days. I'm going to post the video from Christina on Facebook tomorrow, and then I'm going to hopefully do that little bit of a tour of the group. I'll put a little video together so I can put that on Facebook, so you can, if you're again not sure, you can have a little look around the course, how it looks, how it's laid out, and some of the video content on there. This is the first session I've seen that sounds interesting. We'll look maybe and message you afterwards. Yeah, Gail, just reach out to me. Yeah, if you're undecided, the first thing, Gail, is I suggest go back and look at some of the videos from the symposium. Have a look at, listen to the information, because you're going to get to meet the people that have contributed and see if what they've said has resonated with you. And if you then think, yeah, do you know what, I'm really interested and I want to sign up, sign up. All right, I'm going to love you guys and leave you guys. Have a good rest of the evening. I'm going to get on to do some work. See you later.